Across Iran, vast state-organized rallies filled streets and main squares as millions of people turned out to celebrate the 47th anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, waving flags, chanting slogans, and taking part in carefully choreographed displays of loyalty to the ruling system. At one such official gathering in Tehran, footage shared on IRGC-linked platforms showed crowds torching what organizers described as a symbol of the devil, presenting the dramatic burning as a central, made-for-camera moment in the capital's anniversary spectacle. The effigy itself was labeled Baal and crafted as a horned, demonic-looking figure, prominently emblazoned with a Star of David and other motifs, visually fusing the image of an ancient idol with overt references to Israel and contemporary enemies. Pro-government outlets and commentators framed Baal as a symbol of supposed Western Satanism, elite decadence, and even child sacrifice cults, using the burning statue to claim that today's global power structures are morally rotten in ways that echo dark rituals from antiquity. Images and clips of the Baal effigy going up in flames quickly dominated coverage of the anniversary online and abroad, becoming the standout visual from this year's events and overshadowing the more familiar scenes of marches, speeches, and flag burnings. Supporters praised the spectacle as a powerful act of moral resistance that exposed evil systems they believe control the West, while critics condemned it as dangerously incendiary propaganda that demonizes Jews and fuels conspiracy-laden hatred under religious veneer. On social media, users rapidly tied the Baal burning to the newly released Jeffrey Epstein files, circulating claims about an account or references linked to Baal and spinning these details into wider narratives that merge alleged elite abuse networks with occult worship and demonic symbolism. Recent Epstein files from the U.S. Justice Department mention the name Baal in a bank document. Online users on X claimed Epstein had an account called Baal, linking it to dark rituals and child sacrifice. Fact-checkers said it was likely a misread line. The form probably said bank name. The real account was under the company One Clear Lake Center LLC. Conspiracy posts still tied the Baal mention to stories of ritual abuse in Epstein's inner circle. In the Bible, Baal was a fertility god linked to sensual and child sacrifice rites. Emails also revealed Epstein received kiswa cloth pieces, sacred fabric from Islam's Kaaba shrine. With American warships and the USS Abraham Lincoln strike group operating nearby, Iran turned its revolution anniversary rallies into a stage to warn foreign adversaries, pairing patriotic imagery with stark threats aimed at Washington and Tel Aviv. Crowds repeatedly chanted against what they called decades of US crimes and Israeli atrocities, invoking sanctions, assassinations, and the Gaza wars as proof that Iran must stand firm against Western pressure. State-organized marches saturated the air with the familiar slogans "Death to America" and "Death to Israel," which loudspeakers, clerics, and TV presenters all amplified as tensions over nuclear talks and possible strikes climbed. Demonstrators burned Israeli and American flags laid across roads, while nearby authorities displayed 5 mock coffins draped in US flags, turning the streets into a visual tableau of defiance directed at Washington and its allies. The coffins carried printed names and photos of senior US commanders, including CENTCOM Chief Brad Cooper and Army Chief of Staff Randy George, implicitly casting them as potential targets if conflict breaks out. Iranian officials hailed the huge crowds as proof that, despite sanctions, protests, and war fears, the country remains firmly anchored in the revolutionary legacy of 1979, using the mobilization to counter narratives of a regime weakened by internal dissent. As Iran filled the streets with anti-US rallies and threats of retaliation, President Donald Trump hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, turning their talks into a parallel show of coordination and resolve over how to handle Tehran's nuclear ambitions and regional posture. After hours of discussions, Trump said that nothing definitive was agreed regarding Iran, stressing that while he heard Israel's push for a tougher line, his main takeaway was to insist that diplomatic negotiations with Tehran must continue for now. Trump reiterated that his preference is a negotiated deal curbing Iran's nuclear program, yet warned that if talks break down or Iran plays games, then the United States will have to do something very tough, widely read as a threat of renewed military action. Tehran has answered such warnings by vowing that any US strike would trigger direct missile attacks on American bases across the Middle East, cautioning host governments that they, too, would be exposed if war erupts. In the background, the Pentagon has ordered a second aircraft carrier strike group to prepare for possible deployment to the region, giving Washington the option of rapidly doubling its naval punch near Iran if the president decides to escalate. This comes on top of a buildup that already includes the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier group, additional warships, and reinforced air defense assets, creating a layered US posture meant both to deter Iran and to be ready for rapid strikes if required. All these moves unfolded just days after US and Iranian officials held indirect nuclear talks in Muscat, Oman, on February 6, A cautious first step that diplomats described as useful but inconclusive, with both sides agreeing only to keep talking while mistrust and military signaling grow in parallel.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry guards.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.